Hello, everybody. How you doing out there? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to tonight's show. I'm working on the map. We'll see what happens here. There's a lot of trial and error going on, and some things I found out about getting this map seasons compatible that I'm not too thrilled about, but we're in the testing process, and I'll go over those with you and the changes that will have to be made as soon as I check out a couple things here. Now, as you know, Seasons has been released. It has lots and lots of cool features. I'm running Seasons right now, if you noticed. We are in early spring, but we're running into kind of the same problems we did in FS17 with Seasons, but a little bit more so. So it's requiring quite a bit of changes that will have to come to the map. And I've been working on them for the past few hours, and I've got to check. It all has to do with the fill piles, the tip to ground fill types, once again. Um, Seasons threw a couple of surprises. They're using more than just the one for snow, which is one that I had saved, which means that in order to run Seasons, we have to lose two additional fill types. Now, Peanut was in there, which I had already planned. I saved Peanut spot 4 Seasons when it came out because we can do without tipping to ground peanuts. It's not a problem. However, two more of them have to come out because the way Seasons works, well, first of all, they added salt to Seasons for road salting, which is kind of cool. We already have salt in the map, but they're the same product, but they are different. I had to make actually a couple changes to the Seasons mod itself to get the salt back to where I wanted to properly. Not major changes, but I will go over that as well. I'm just coming up here to make sure my fill types are okay now. Alright, I got my sand, which I had to redraw in all the fill types, minus two of them. And the two that I decided to remove, there's the salt piled high. If you still want the drawbridge, here's the URL of the video I made on it. It's on the right after you start the video. Okay, Farm Wrangler, I'll check that out at some point. Uh, Thanks for that. Thank you, X-Man, for being subscribed. 7 months. 7 months now. Thank you so much. So, I do want this map to be Seasons compatible. Um, I'm not so concerned about the Industries map being Seasons compatible because it's very large, and I don't know if it can handle Seasons that well, but I think this one will, and I think it's just would be a shame if people can't play this map with Seasons if that is their choice. However, we got to make it so that it can be played by both Seasons players and non-Seasons players. So as I was saying, two of the tip to ground fill types, which means two of our mining types, have to be eliminated. And I did eliminate them, and I'll tell you which two I chose and why in and I'm not saying that it was the right choices, but I think for number one, I think stone was a wise choice because stone had very little use on the previous maps, and there are other ways to get around our stone issues later on. With the rock crusher, we can crush our rock down into stone if we want to use stone. I'm keeping it in the map, but it's just not a tip to ground type, so we don't have a stone mine anymore. I replaced all the stone mines, one of each of them, with sand, gravel, and salt. Yeah, bringing back the boulders at some point. That's why I thought stone was a definite smart choice. I mean, we have mining in the map, there's no doubt about it. You still have your sand, gravel, salt, or coal. The other one that is missing, and I do have to put the roofs back on these, I just repainted them all, The other one that is missing is silt, believe it or not. Uh, I just thought it would be the smartest decision to take silt out of the map for several reasons. Number one, if we freeze over the ponds for seasons, kind of ruins the ability to get silt out of the ponds. However, I also thought that with our ferry system that we can have some buyable silt points added to the map where you can pull the ferry under, load up with silt, and purchase your silt. So the ore is back in. That looks good too. So we're not getting rid of silt. You just won't be digging it out of ponds. You'll have to purchase it if you want to it. But also I thought that that was a smart choice because in the long run, we should have our compost makers back. You can also use manure to create uh, your fertilizer and all of that additional stuff. So with the seasons changes, we'll be switching over so the ponds won't have silt anymore. But other than that, everything else stays. The biggest test is coming right now. I know all the products, and I do have to go through and change the color to the ones that I've changed because one of these, one there, and one there was stone, and now there's an additional sand, gravel, and salt out of those three places. Hey, Doc Holliday. So the big test coming right now is what happens to this map if I don't run seasons. And then I'll go into all the steps that I had to take. So if you guys want to do a seasons ready mod as well, you will have to make these changes. Let me load up the game again. I don't know why I exited all the way out, but I'm going to open up a game. Hey, KW, how you doing? And see if my fill types are correct. This is always scary because I have no idea if they will be the way I did it without the seasons mod running. We got to have the option. So a new save game without seasons. And we'll see if I got it correct or not. I hope so because I don't want to go back and do all that again. But we'll find out. And for those of you that have to do the same thing, seasons goes at the top, unfortunately, and that's the problem with everything. Seasons and then salt comes in and it moves everything and makes them all out of whack. So I know it's going to put the snow at the top and then it puts salt after it. So I had to move salt up in my list. It's all I could do. I'm scared to look, but we're going to look and see once again if they are correct without seasons running, then we're okay. That's the problem they always had. If seasons would load them last, it wouldn't throw off all the other fill types. But it always makes sure they're loaded in, and then everything else goes to crap in the map. So let's check them out once again. Now, they could be wrong. 50-50 chance here without seasons running. My thing is, I could easily create two versions of the map, one season fully seasons compatible and one not. But I would rather have it so I'm only working on one map at a time and not having to update two all the time. And it's just extra work, more time that could be spent better elsewhere once we get the factories running than having to update the seasons mod. I mean the seasons all the time. As the seasons version as well as the original version. If it comes to that, then we will do that. Hopefully most of the additions from here on out, after a few that have to be in the map, will be through placeables. So there will get to a point where both maps, if we have to run two different versions, will be completely fine. Everything was up to date. I did all the crop textures over. I also learned something new on that as well that I could show you guys that I wish I had known before I did them all. But better late than never. And I finished those up first, made a backup copy of the map, everything as far as I know working perfectly. Looks good here. We've got sand. The salt is the big key, the question mark in my head. Is salt gonna be salt? No. See, it didn't. It put ore in where salt is. So how would we rectify that problem? Because seasons messes everything up. Sand, gravel. Let's check out the other ones and see what else happened. Might have to switch some numbers around again. Hey, Chip Dog, how are you doing? Thank you for the follow. So sand works. I'll have to look at the order. I may have to move salt and redraw a few of these. I cannot make salt salt 2 because that would mean it would be another fill type on the ground because they already have it as a tip to ground file because they put salt in as a road clearing snow thing. So we wouldn't have room for both of them. It is just a fact, unfortunately. So let's go through and see how many other ones got messed up here. I bet you gravel's okay. I might be able to fix... Oh, wait a minute. That is... Is that gravel? It looks like a mixture, doesn't it? Something messed... I don't know if that's gravel or not. It looks like gravel, sand and gravel. I don't have a clue. We'll be back. I'm going to need a shovel to check that one out. It's not about a naming thing at all. It's about a number of fill types that can tip to ground. Salt is salt, it'll work fine. The question is, we will have to, I might have to move it in the order in the map and redraw some of the piles. That's all. We got sand. That is definitely gravel. I wonder what the heck the look on the other one down there. What the deal was with that. I'll check that out in a minute. Ore is going to be different because it came in as something else. Just a lot of craziness. But I do want to get this running. Now it works with seasons, but it doesn't work without it. Ore is okay there. Weird. Coal is okay here. So salt is the only one that got messed up so far. And that is interesting, to say the least. Because I can fix that if it's salt may have to go to the end of the list. If it's the only one that's messed up, then it might work putting it at the end of the list. I don't know. I'm trying to find another. Take a lookie over here. All right, gravel. Excuse me, I still got that cough. We don't have the factory scripts yet, BDSSB. We're waiting on those. We got the seasons mod, so we're working on that. Oh, yeah, we can take a turn up that road. And again, it's a fill type thing. So apparently what it looks like to me is they're using multiple layers. Yeah, coal is okay there. Multiple layers for the snow, and then they're stacking them. All right, so salt is coming in as ore as well. That seems to be the issue. It's just that salt and because salt, that's why, because salt is probably turned off in my fill types. Let's go out and back and I'll show you what we're up against here. So, I've been looking at several files. We have no salt when we start, and that is because, and that is where this gets a little bit crazy. Number one, our fill type salt is in the map, uh, and our density map height types, do I have salt turned off? Yes, I do. My question is if I turn on salt, and I got to move it below ore, and put it back in, because we want it if Seasons isn't installed. Will it Seasons overwrite it or not? I think hopefully that will work. Snow does not have to be in the file, so I took that one right out, and that is fine. It adds the snow in and it adds the salt in, but I have to have salt here if Seasons isn't running. So, and silt and stone were turned off. So let's see if that fixes it or not. I am doing good, Bama61. We're just trying to make a Seasons compatible map here. Step one is getting these fill types back. Now, unfortunately for all of you out there that decide to run this crazy map or are already playing, with the update for Seasons compatibility, there will definitely have to be some save game changes. So I'm going to start without Seasons and see what happens first. If it's possible, we'll find out, because I do have a save game I'll try to get to continue with the new changes. But either way, it's just going to be copying and moving certain files into your save game. So, yeah, if we this is the hardest part of all this. After that, we can work on some extra Seasons features, but we got to get the map working both ways. It has to load up without Seasons and have all the products correct. Let's go and check them out. I think I'll go this way. Where's the closest salt mine? Ah, there's salt, both of them over there. We'll go the way I've been going. Hopefully. So we're not going to lose the silt as a product. We're just going to lose the ability to scoop it off the ground out of the ponds. And I may put that's the other thought, is to put some type of siphoning system at the ponds to purchase your silt from, or working something out. Yeah. I wasn't too upset about having to lose stone, but with the silt too, yeah, that was a blow. We'll see what happens. Now, with the issues with there that I made changes to the salt when running in the Seasons mod itself was that number one, they made salt so heavy that if you put 100,000 in a tipper, the tipper won't move at all. They had it, my salt originally was 0.85 in weight. They made it 2.87 or something like that when they Seasons mod runs. So in the Seasons mod, when it adds salt, it overwrites mine and it makes it too heavy to move, and we're going to be moving it for other things as well. So I found that in the Seasons mod, made the necessary changes to make it so it was the right little weight again. Let's see, please be salt, please be salt, please be salt. Okay, so salt is there. That's good. It's running salt. The question is, will Seasons boot up now? Let's go back. There was something funky in the bottom color. I don't know if it was just the lighting. Because Seasons does do some lighting things too. We'll go down and check that one mine around the back. And what file do they specify that? Wait, it's in a Lua script, I believe. I'd have to find it again. I probably have it still open in my editor. I will show you that in a minute. We'll see if we can find it. We'll get through all the little things. So basically, the other thing that they did was they named it road salt in their translations file, which are translation files are pretty easy. And I don't want it to be called road salt, even though it's salt, it's the same product, because we're going to be using it for potato chip factories too. So I changed in their translations file the name so it doesn't appear as road salt. This one is is that the stone that I changed over to? No, that is sand. All right, it's sand. It's sand. It's just it doesn't look quite like sand though. Times. I'm gonna have to get a scooper over here. I think it's just the light because we're in the shadow. I mean, when we get around to where the sun, it looks like sand, but I think the light makes it look funky. It's definitely the beach sand. We're good there. So we're just got one more test, and that is now with the new order of the stuff, turning Seasons back on in a new save game and making sure everything comes back the way we want it for both. Then we're good. That's what all I want, is it to be an option and not screw everything up. Is that too much to ask? So it looks like we're looking pretty good this way. We'll take a look around the corner at the ore and the coal and make sure they're still okay. Hey, hi, Donald7819. How you doing? Right. Ore is ore, coal is coal, salt is salt. Everything looks cool without Seasons running. The question is, will Seasons run? Because sometimes it doesn't. Some of my testing. I've been doing good. Some of my testing here today, though, has been crazy. So, new farmer, turn back on Seasons with this one. Make sure it's everything should be checked. Yes, start it up. And if it doesn't, if enabling salt in my map crashes this, then that means we need two versions. I'm hoping it doesn't. I'm praying it doesn't. And that everything still looks good. Thank you for that there, Donald. Appreciate it. We're still working on it. There's tons and tons of changes coming. And hopefully we have a solution to continuing your save games as well when we get the next update out there. But I want that update to be able to run Seasons. Seasons has some pretty cool things, and I think we're going to be okay. Usually it would have crashed by now. Just got to make sure salt is still salt, and it's a very specific order, and we had to lose the two products, stone and silt, and we'll be putting them back in as purchasable items. Well, I'm going to put silt in right now as purchasable, and when the factories come, we'll probably make the stone crusher, if we can redo that, into creating stone out of that way. Global Company should be released. They put Global Company sent it to a week ago today. They sent it to Giants for testing, and as soon as it appears on ModHub, once it passes all Giants testing, then it's good to go. If you don't know how to vote, it's a little late because the voting ended on the 22nd, which reminds me to 4th, 5th, 6th. We're like 5 days away from them announcing. The 29th, I think, is when they're announcing it at FarmCon, who the winner is. But the voting is done. I've got some other tests to do. I have not done a snow mask yet, but I can. That's what this whole show is going to be about, getting you guys up to where you need to be and getting me and the map up to where it needs to be to continue on forward and have a seasons. We'll work a little bit on seasons while we have the time until we get the Global Company stuff, and then who knows. But you could see we've got definitely seasons running. The trees are dead and brown. It's early spring. And I have the Seasons Guide to the Galaxy. I don't know. See, I'm win or lose, I always win because I enjoy what I do. It's not really about prizes, but it would be nice to have a nice new graphics card. That's really the main thing. To get that graphics card, any one of the three, upgrade the one I have. But either way, you guys here and the support you guys have done and the compliments that I get, I already win without the contest all the time. That's all I could say. So anything else is extra. My biggest thing is I know that a lot of my fans are here in the US and the game is probably bigger in Germany and they're not always into the style maps that I make, and there will be a lot of votes going. But then I looked at it and realized if you are into the German or the European maps, you have so many that they're going to split all the votes. And then it's good for me there. Most of them were that. I think there was only three that weren't. So I think we're going to be good if that stayed salt. Yes, it did. All right. So it's a very particular order that everything has to be in. Not a lot of changes after all is said and done, but the first part of this whole process is pretty darn good. Let's see. All right. Back to the file changes. So in your map density height types, you can only have an additional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with salt, and my salt had to come last as the new ones listed in order for it to work fine. So these two can come out. We don't have silt as a file type, pile type, and that is really it. We now need to go into the map and make new options for silt, but salt as last. Don't put the snow in there. You do not need it. make sure the ones that are in your map file other than salt load up first, and then draw in all your piles again. And your density map height types will be good. As far as fill types, not needed to edit. I have to keep salt in there so it runs. And snow does not have to be added because the mod itself adds the snow. So you don't have to do anything to your fill types file. A lot of this was just trial and error experimenting. In this, let's see, I've got some seasons files. Seasons snow handler Lua. Let me see if I can find salt. Okay. So it's in the seasons snow handler Lua file. You'll see add salt material for salting. A few low layers down, line 113, mass per liter had to be changed to zero. 0.8. It was at 2 something right there. And that's actually editing the seasons mod itself. So if we're going to have a custom version unless there's a way to override that after seasons runs. But for now, mass per liter, unless you don't want to move a lot of salt around, you don't have to do that one. It's just with their salt weight, you can't put very much on the map. So that I had to change. And in the only other change I made to the seasons mod itself in the translations, English XML, this is where the translation files are. Fill type salt will say road salt for the text. I just put it back to salt because we're going to be using it for more than just road salt. So that's all I had to do in the seasons mod. Now there are several things that we will be doing outside. There are tons of things that we need to edit, such as the crop type XML. And this is usually done in a mod, but it can be done right in here. We have to add in all of our custom because it only has the default crops. So we'll make that's going to take some time adding them in to when we want the growth stage and figuring out the increment by one range increments, all the different states for the different crops that we added and when we want them to start and all that stuff. That is a little bit down the road here. I got to get silt back into the map, and I'm going to do that with a purchasable trigger. And I did want to show you something just from last show about editing textures. Um, Farmer Don, thank you for the 5 months in a row sub. Thank you so much. So just to catch up on last show, I found something. Sometimes you find something, and I can actually do it with one of the textures. Let's go into the foliage texture file real quick here. Pleasant Valley foliage. Distance files. We've been adding distance files, and you can see several distance files that I screenshot and did the blurs on to make the distance files new. But let's take, for instance, this carrot distance diffuse. That looks like a good one because there is still a little bit of a pattern. We made it seamless. I want to load it up in GIMP. In the old GIMP still. I know that this is, I don't even know how I missed this. I was just so used to doing it the other way. But as we were editing these, I was showing you to go to blur and give you a motion blur. And I was also showing you that to map it and make it seamless right here. and then it put it in. But if you go to the blur section here and you go to the bottom, it says tileable blur, which who would have thought? I have a setting, I set the radius to 30. I don't know what, but it seemed like blur vertically and horizontally and click OK. And it gives you the color blurred file, the solid color blur file for that crop in the distance, and it actually looks better in game. So, uh, quick way to make a distance diffuse file. Take a screenshot of little capture of the swatch, and then you can make it so that it's a nice smooth transition. DXT1 with your MIP maps, and there, I just edited that one. I could go through at some point and take ones like the lavender distance file and oh, I did it again. I always open up in the default. Let's do one more. Put it in GIMP. Load it up. Filters, blur, tileable blur, and then my settings are all okay. And it just makes it a nicer looking file when you're in the game. So, something I found. One step instead of two. Onward out of there. All right. I have an issue, and we're going to have to do this later on too, but here's, we're going to try at this point to do two things. Um, my save game. So when you get your save game, there's a whole new, here, let's get out of the seasons one. There's a whole new file in the map for the density height types. So if you have a current save game, you are going to want to update the height types with the terrain detail height density GDM in the map. It's under Pleasant Valley Maps map. And then go to your documents, My Games, Farming Simulator 2019, My Save Game 2. I'm replacing all the piles. So I got all new piles. It's all new. When you do that, no other piles in the ground, and make sure all of your silage bunkers are empty because it's resetting the whatever's on the ground and putting the new ones in. That is step number one. On one of the things I got to check here, and this is what the other step we're going to have to do. Somewhere in here we have this is the items file that loads up when you load the map from the defaults. And this is created, and some of the changes that are made, I'm trying to think of which one it was here. I can go to my map DE items XML file. Let me go back over here. My lime buying station, it did not get in there. So if these coordinates 582, all right, it's still gonna have two FERT stations in my save game because I can't buy lime on my map. So if I go to my save game in the items XML file and search for FERT station, there's one right there. Should be two, and there's the other right there. One has a first coordinate of 485. The other one has the coordinates of 582 for the first one. I go over here. I know that the one that I changed to a lime station is the 582. So we just got to make the proper changes to this file. Buying stations. It's Pleasant Valley Placeables Buying Stations Lime Station XML. If I just change that to that, because that's the only thing I did, then that one will now load in as a Lime Station. Everything else is the same. It just has to point to the right. So those things only start at the beginning of a new save game, and I did the change to make it sell Lime. Old save games have to have the Lime Station changed to point to the right XML so I can purchase Lime at that silo on my current game. And we're going to be adding in to the items XML a few other purchasing stations as well. So I'm going to go and let's see if we want to go out to my placeables buying stations, and I am just going to copy my Lime station. Let's see. We'll edit it with Notepad, File, Save As, and I'm going to make this into a Silt purchase point. Silt Station XML. No space in there? Nope. Okay. Silt Station XML. We'll save it. I'm going to change this to Silt. Fill type Silt. Not capitalized in the fill type. That's right. Store buying station. Can be sold false, show in store false. That is correct because it's going to be built right into the map. It's using the seed buying station i3D. They're all the same. But we do have to change the name of it. Silt station. And the fill type down here as well to silt. Okay. And I'm going to save that copy of my XML file. Now, in the map, we have at the ports silos that don't do anything. It does mark where you fill or sell off, but I'm going to make it also at the ports available to, let's go in here, to purchase silt. And in order to do that, placeables, buying stations, seed buying station. I should have named it something generic, but I didn't. We're going to load it in and bring that over here. Now I'm actually going to save this out, I think, because I want to change the triggers and everything on this. It's kind of, so we're going to point it to a new i3D file because I want the bigger changes here. So we're going to position it so it's in the tube there. I am going to change my loading station trigger. It has to be a lot closer to, well, we're going to make it pretty big. We can make it really big. Let's see. No, we don't have to make it that far into the water. I just want to make it so when you hit that trigger, you know it. 2.5 maybe. Is that in the water? Got to make sure we get it. Yeah, we're okay there. And what do we got here? We've got discharge effect. That one, I believe, I just brought the whole group up to 3 by 3 and 1.5, I think. Gets it down into the water. Yeah, okay. We're going to center that up. Okay. Map position. Well, that should be right where it is if we use it. Okay. I'm going to rename this to silt buying and I'm going to export it as a new file. File, export selection with files into silt BUINGSTATION. We got to make the capital B. We'll keep the naming conventions the same. Capital S there. So, I have a new silt buying trigger that I have to change this right here. Instead of the seed buying station, we're going to load in the silt buying station i3D. The path is in the same folder, so we're good there. So our silt station XML now in our mapde items. I'm going to copy this line just to give me something to go with. And we're going to make it SILT, silt buying station, map tree, and we want to go to the silt station XML. And now we just need the coordinates for where it's at. And that is right here. Shift Control C. Back in, we're going to replace these coordinates. Paste them in with Control V. And that's silt buying station number 1 added. I'm going to move that around the map and put it on all of the 3 ports, so you have 3 places where you can purchase silt. And eventually we could add products to those if we want to as well for buying, because there is no silo triggers for this thing. We just need to keep adding new products that can be purchased at the port. We'll try it out in a little bit once we get it in there. Get it centered up in our silo. Make sure, see, it's always tricky. You got to look at these things from all sorts of angles. Let's get it up high. We're clipping through the pipe. That's the easy way to do it. Rabid Sean, thank you for the host. Bring that down